Hi everyone, it's Katie Mann and Jenna Wiesner. We are your assistants to the Director of Standards. We are putting together this webinar just as a quick reminder for everyone after the summer vacation of the importance of saving and labeling when it comes to standards documentation. We've seen a lot over the last year of chapters struggling with the documentation, especially over transitions, because we might have a member who approaches council or headquarters, say that they were treated unfairly for a situation that happened 2 or 3 years ago, and when we ask the current VPS for documentation from that situation, they don't have it, or we have VPSs coming to us requesting to pursue loss of membership, and they don't have the documentation to support the fact that a member has been called into standards and met with an action taken against that member multiple times and that they're just not changing their behavior. So really, we want you guys to make sure that we're saving files for as long as the members are in the chapter, that we have them, and then it's easy for you guys to access currently, and it's also easy for your future VPSs to have access to these documents if they need them down the line. For emails, we highly, highly recommend that you create a chapter-specific standards email address. The example that we have here is betazeta@standards@gmail.com. Most of the ones that we do see is some play on the chapter name or the school name with standards in it, and then it's something that can be passed on from VPS to VPS so that any attempts that you make to reach members are saved in that sent folder. You have all of the documentation of sending your minutes and your probation forms in are sent from that email address. They're all saved in the email. And there's no concerns about not having any email correspondence that a prior VPS sent. If you do have a chapter-specific standards email address or you create one, please make sure that you update this email address with CAPA headquarters through your profile on the CAPA website. And this way it transfers over to key reports to show that your email address is this betazetastandards@gmail.com, so that any emails that come from headquarters, any of the emails that Colette as the Director of Standards or Jenna and I send out to all of the VPSs and all of the standards advisors gets saved in this email account that you have and then can be passed on to the next VPS when your chapter transitions. And this way, when you do transition, you can just update your email address back to your personal account, and the next VPS can switch hers over to the standards email address so that there's always getting the emails from headquarters and they're being saved in that email account. Now I'm going to hand it over to Jenna to talk about the minutes.
Thank you. So every week at your standards committee meetings, you should be taking minutes on the minutes template that is posted on the CAPA website. That is a requirement for you and your committee to use the minutes template that we have on the CAPA website. We recommend that you always log on to the CAPA website and download the minutes template that's underneath your resources as VPS as things change, and we want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date version. We also recommend that you have a committee member type directly into the minutes template on a computer rather than handwriting into the template. That will save you a lot of time so that after your meeting, that person isn't handing over her handwritten notes that maybe the VPS can't read, and you're not taking the time to type it in after the meeting's over. It can all just be done and then maybe proofread after the meeting before it's sent in. The template, it expands as you type, and it also allows you to add rows and tables into that so that you can add additional lines for members if you exceed the amount that's originally given on the template. It doesn't have to be the same person who takes minutes every time. You could switch it up, but if someone really likes to do it, and they know exactly how it's done, they could do it the entire semester, the entire year. Your minutes and your probation form should include the same detail. So if you are meeting with a member and in the minutes you're including exactly maybe what her inappropriate behavior was at a formal dance, those same notes should be placed on the probation form. So your minutes and your probation form should mirror each other. It should have the reason for being on probation in detail, the length of the probation, and the terms, all noted on both the minutes and the probation form, so that if those two documents ever got separated, we would still know why that member was called into standards and ultimately placed on probation. Also, the minutes should be saved in files by date of meetings so they're easy for you to sort and find. So you can see on the screen the example is the year 2015 underscore month underscore day of the month. So it's easily sortable on your computer. The minutes should also be printed and saved in binders or files. It's always good to have a backup of these. Make sure that wherever you're saving this binder or the files is in a locked cabinet or a locked closet in your chapter facility so that everything is kept confidential. Also, make sure that you're saving the minute templates for 5 years so you can delete at the end of each school year. So for example, at the end of last school year, you could throw away any minutes from 2009 to 10. So if you still have those, it's safe to get rid of those minutes as most of those women have graduated and moved on. You won't need any of their files.
For your probation forms and your warning of probation forms, we need these to have specific detail regarding the behavior that led to the warning or the probation noted on the form. So there are the check boxes on the top third of the first page that says if it's for academics or attendance or conduct or finance, but we need you to then put in the lines below that the member had an inappropriate post on Instagram with alcohol and referencing Kappa, or the member missed chapter meetings from August 1st, August 8th, and August 15th, that the member was sick on the bus on the way home from the Kappa Crush event. It needs to have details so that somebody who's looking at the probation form either next semester or a year down the road or 2 years down the road knows exactly why that member was placed on probation. And we also need for the probation forms to be kept for the entire time the member is in the chapter. So you can purge your files at the end of each school year for anyone who has graduated and is leaving the chapter, or if you have somebody who resigns or your committee pursues loss of membership and you have confirmation from headquarters that that member has been taken off of your roster on key reports, you can then get rid of that member's files. But otherwise, they need to be saved for the whole time so that future VPSs do have that documentation of any action that your committee or a prior committee took regarding a specific member. We recommend that each member have their own folder so that all documentation for that member is in one place. Think of your standards folders like an HR folder at a business. Anytime something happens, it goes in the member's folder, and then all of it's in the same place and easy to access whenever you need to look at their full file. So that's really what we want you guys to kind of get in the habit with when you're saving your files. We recommend that you save your forms, both the paper version, but that you also save them electronically. And when you're saving them electronically, we recommend that you save them by member name, date of action, behavior leading to action, and whether it's a probation form or a warning of probation. So the example we have is Kelly Kappa. She was placed on probation May 1st of 2015 for an alcohol-related offense, and it was a probation. And that way, when you're just skimming through your files that you have saved on your computer, you can easily see who the member was, how many times they've been called in, whether it's been for probation or a warning, and what was the overarching issue that was being addressed by that action. So it's just a way to stay organized and be able to look at things really quickly and get the right information off of it.
Next, we have a really great idea that we encourage you to use so that you can keep track of members you place on probation. So Katie and I have a spreadsheet that will flag members who were previously placed on probation. It's a really, really helpful way for you to track who's been placed on probation more than once, maybe to see also what kind of trends are going through your chapter as well. So you can see below the picture of the tracking spreadsheet, a little snapshot of it, where it includes member name, graduation year, the number of weeks, the number of weeks that that member is on probation, whether or not she's a repeat, when her term begins, when it ends, the reason for her probation, and then whether or not it was removed or extended. So you would write the member's name in the member name column and type in her graduation year. Then you would next put in the number of weeks that she's on probation. And if her name is already in this spreadsheet, that repeat column will automatically populate for you, and it will say repeat. Once you type in the date that the term begins, that date to follow up will automatically populate because you put the number of weeks that she's on probation. So the spreadsheet will recognize that she was put on probation on September 1st for 3 weeks, so that date to follow up populated to September 22nd. You'll also put in the reason for probation, so there's some boxes on the probation forms for attendance, scholarship, finance, conduct, and that's what you would type in there to determine what her reason for probation was. And then in that removed or extended column is where you would put, after the follow-up meeting with that member, whether or not she was successfully removed from her probation or if it needed to be extended. And there's also an area for you to include any additional notes that you'd like to about this member. So if you want this probation tracker, just reach out to Katie or myself and we can definitely send it your way so that you can start using it to track your members and who's been called in for what and maybe some trends that are going on in your chapter.
Another good idea we have is for saving your paper files. So we recommend that you either use a filing cabinet that you might already have in your chapter facility, or if you don't have one, that you get one of these great file boxes. This one's plastic, it's airtight, you can keep the lid closed, and they are set up to allow for hanging folders. So you can put in hanging folders, maybe split the letters of your alphabet, do A through C for one folder, and then D through F for the next folder. And then each time a member of your chapter is given a probation or warning of probation, you would create a folder for that member if she doesn't already have one. So at Kelly's tab of first action, if she receives a warning of probation, she would get a folder added to the file with her name, and then it would say, you could put her warning of probation form in there, and then it's easily alphabetized for your whole chapter, and you guys have all of your probation forms and your warning of probations in the same place. And then if you need them, you can just pull out the whole member's folder, or you can purge them at the end of every year when you know the member has graduated. If you are saving your files in a lockbox like this or a storage box like this, it does need to be locked in a cabinet or a closet or maybe a president's office if you have that, just so it's not someplace where your members can get at it. It is confidential information, so it does need to stay away and stay locked up from the rest of your membership when the standards committee is not using it.
So that wraps up our saving and labeling webinar. Thank you so much for joining us and listening to what we have to say. A few reminders that Katie mentioned before. It's so important to make sure that you are filling out all your forms with great detail and labeling things correctly so that you can easily find things, say 2 years down the road when a member says she was treated unfairly, or if your chapter, for whatever reason, doesn't support a vote, and council needs some documentation to help you pass that vote, or if you're requesting a resignation or dismissal. It's just so important that people who were not at your meetings are able to know exactly what went on by just reading your minutes and your probation forms. So if you have any further questions or want clarification, or if you're interested in that probation tracker, feel free to email Katie or myself at kkgassistant2ds@gmail.com. Thank you.